I welcome you all to this exciting new session where we will be learning like how we can be, leveraging machine learning using Java. And today we have some really special guest who will be guiding us. So I'll walk you through the speakers and everything in a bit. But before that, I would like to take this moment to thank everybody for joining on this Saturday morning. I know Saturdays are not that easy to wake up, but really, really means a lot. You guys all, decided to spend your time for this learning. So before we go and jump into the session, a little bit about ourselves. So for the people who are joining us for the very first time, this introduction is for you. So we are basically Java User Group Gujarat, and we are one of the JUGs in India. So normally, this community is to spread the awareness about Java, any sort of learnings, trends which are happening inside the world of Java. This is the best way to stay connected with all those trends and things, right, to catch up. Um, and similar to us, there are other jugs as well, which are there in India. So if you are joining us from outside the Gujarat, do check out in your nearby location. There must be some jug present. So try to be active in the communities if you want to stay in touch, with the latest trends happening. Um, if you want to know more about us, right, these are the social media handles. You can follow us and stay in touch with us on Twitter and LinkedIn at JUJ Gujarat is our ID. And if you want to know like what are the other jugs present in India, then this is the cool website you can go dev.java/community/jugs. You will be able to figure out like what are the other jugs present in India. A little bit about me. So I'm your host, Vikas Rajput. I have 10 plus years of experience in the field of Java. And apart from the development work, I stay active in the community and try to share my learnings and experience through my articles, blogs, also on my social media handles. If you want to know more about me, these are my social media handles at the rate Vikas Rajputin. You can find me on LinkedIn and Twitter easily. Now it's time to welcome our speakers. So we have this time we have two speakers, right? They will be co-presenting the topic. Rajadurai, who is a solution architect at Arcadai, and who is also running the Tamil Jug. And we have Thamarai, who is also a solution architect at lastminute.com. I hope you will find this session helpful. And before I hand over the screen to them, I have a little surprise for all of you. So we will reveal the surprise after some time in the session. So try to be awake during the session. Don't feel sleepy. And in 20 to 30 minutes, we'll be revealing like what is that surprise for all the participants who are right now here. And yeah, so with that, I'll let Raja and Thamrai both to take over the screen, and you guys can start the presentation. So I'll stop sharing.
Thank you, Vikas.
Hi, everyone. Hope you are able to see my screen. Today, we will talk about powering machine learning in Java.
Yep. Hey, my name is Rajadurai Krishnamoorthy. People call me as Raja. As Vikas stated, I'm a solution architect at Thamaraikkanni Technologies, a startup based in TN. And I'm also a co-organizer of Tamil Java User Group, and then Board of Studies member of VIT, the Vellore Institute of Technology. And last but not least, I'm also a founder and president of a fine arts academy called Sri Lanka Academy of Fine Arts, which promotes Indian arts in rural areas. And just to give you a bit more details, like I've been presenting in various meetups in Bangalore, Java User Group, as well as in Java Fest and many other forums as well. Over to you, Thamrai.
Okay, my name is Thamrai. I am a solution architect in lastminute.com. I started presenting in recent days in the Java user group for sometimes. This is my LinkedIn and GitHub to connect with me.
Thank you, Thamrai. Actually, I've been hearing that you have been in the path of machine learning for a time. So can you tell me what is happening in the machine learning area, and anything interesting if you can share, that will be of great help.
Okay, actually, machine learning is the hot topic today. I don't need to tell about it. Some of us is using the lot of AI in every day to finish the task also. And
Right.
so there is something which is interesting, which is happening on the Java front in the AI ML today.
Is it? So machine learning means, like, generally we have people talk about Python and C++ and things like that. Python is the king of machine learning, isn't it? But you're talking about Java, so that's really interesting. Can you throw some more light on that?
Today, everybody, when we say AI ML, everybody knows only Python, but that has become a habit for us. But now Java also pitching in the area of AI ML because of this is a widely used application in the enterprise architectures. Some of us we already know. So I'll show you something in the same.
Sure. Okay, so while Thamaraikkann shows, just wanted to get a quick gist of from the audience, right? So how many of you guys are already working in the machine learning paradigm? Sorry guys if you hear any background noise from me. But guys, the idea here is just to make sure, like, we wanted to be more interactive. So we will do a conversational based, the presentation for sure. But at the same time, we also will, will keep asking some questions from the audience as well. So do not hesitate. Please feel free to answer. And there is nothing like, it's a right or wrong answer. So whatever, the answer you give, that's fine. So if any of you guys are already in the process of like doing something in the machine learning, do let us know.
I won't be focusing about my own learning, Raja, not the machine's learning. Right, but yes, probably not in an official way, but about taking up a course, especially how a machine learning could have, especially in terms of supervised learning and unsupervised learning, and how the ways in which you could actually tame a machine to go through the learning process, right? Not a straightforward way. You need to really give an algorithm and a sampling with which a machine can become better at itself for anything to do, right? The flow to be fulfilled. That's my 2 cents. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Raghavan. It's just that we wanted to, get some thoughts about, how much audience are, familiar with. I'm sure, every one of us, even we wanted to work in machine learning, but in our day-to-day life, in our projects, we may not get an opportunity to work. So, but obviously, we will put in our own time to learn and make sure we are up to speed on that. That's true for sure. Okay, so now we will have Thamaraikkann show you something which is interesting. Over to you, Thamaraikkann.
Yeah, I think everybody can see this is a cat. We are seeing it. We are seeing it as a human. But how do our machine says? I want my machine to stand. So let's see how it is. Hope you guys able to see this. There is a it have a categorization of cat and dog. It says the cat is 99% true, dog is like 0.00. So with this probability, we can say the machine is saying it can be a cat.
Right. So wait a second. Is it something in Java? So
Yes.
you have code
Yes.
written in Java?
Yes, it is written in Java.
That's interesting.
I had similar requirements. So previously I did one face recognition things, and for that we just kept few of the images and put into the ready-made algorithm available in the Python for the machine learning, and just kept those things. But I never thought that even we could do the same thing into the Java one.
Yes,
thanks.
That's true. That's it's a good learning for sure. Okay, so yeah, we will move ahead. That's a good thing, Thamaraikkann. So can you give a bit more details on like how this is done in Java and like how it's evolved and things like that?
Before we move on, Raja, so we will going to talk about that. Can we just align ourselves what AIML? We know everyone that AIML had captured the world, but how did it evolve, where we stand, and then we'll take it further.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So I think all of you will agree. So for one of the other way, we generally started using the artificial intelligence for sure. Tamara, if you can go back to the slides. That would be good. So artificial intelligence for sure. So basically, we wanted to make sure the machines will be, or basically like, we want to make sure the machines are intelligent enough like human being. So we think all of us are intelligent. I hope so. But like, we want to make sure like, the machine is intelligent enough so that it can do, or like it can take decisions like how we can take decisions, or like it can even do some things better as well. And like, machine learning is one of the subset of artificial intelligence. So where we can like, as Raghavan rightly said, so we have different types of machine learnings, and in a nutshell, what we do is like, we get some set of data, and then we use some algorithm and make sure like, we basically tie these two together, and have machine will be able to learn from it and then do the appropriate things. All right. So basically, computers should be able to do the study and do appropriate action. And like, in that we have multiple different categories, as like, one is the supervised and then unsupervised learning kind of stuff. And if you go a little bit more deeper into the machine learning, and I think there are a lot of things which we can talk about machine learning, but we just wanted to have a quick recap so that we're all aligned on that. And wherever needed, we will deep dive into the things in the upcoming slides as well. Okay. And when you talk about machine learning, there is also another subset which within that is called deep learning. So in the deep learning, normally we will have a neural networks used, which means you can have a multiple different layers of learning. Okay. And then you can use the data and the neural networks to make sure like, it can do a in-depth learning from these two. All right. So the major categorization which is done in this deep learning area are like, generative and the predictive. All right. Let me ask you something. Can someone tell me an example of generative?
GPT, OpenAI.
Yeah, very good. So anything like, you want to deal with generated content, so yes. And examples of predictive, anyone?
Some of the CNN algorithm.
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
CNN algorithm, which what I told is like it can predict like some of the 99% of it looks like a cake and some of it.
Probably weather forecast or
Yeah.
cyclone.
So anything which we wanted to predict, right? So basically, it could be a weather forecast, or it could be your let's say the pricing for your airlines or buses, and many more, right? Okay, so let's get into a bit more details on these two categorizations. Tamara, if you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so we talked about the generative area, right? So basically, whatever the content you wanted to generate, right? Either it could be a text or like image or a video or whatever. So in those cases, so you will use the generative side of it. And obviously for the generative, we also need to make sure we have a large amount of data sets, and we need to have a quality data sets as well. All right. And you can see in the screen there are some network models which has been used for this generative deep learnings, like the diffusion models and transformer models and things like that. Okay. And use cases, definitely we all know that because we have been using ChatGPT and OpenAI and many more tools. All right. So not going to talk about that further. And on the other hand, predictive uses its own algorithms, either clustering or the regression models and or the time series model and things like that, because it has to make sure it can predict the things well. And for the prediction, you can have decent amount of data set, and it can work based on that. And some of the examples I think we talked about already, like the forecasting, which we want to do, whether it is weather forecasting or financial forecasting, or even the pricing or inventory related forecasting as well, which we can do. And two major things which I just wanted to highlight here. So generative, when you wanted to be more creative on the content, so then generative will help you for sure. And if you want to get an accurate data, then the predictive will help you for sure. Okay.
Thank you, Raja.
So with that, we will move on. Yes.
So there are a lot of libraries available today to do the AI ML in Java. I'll just list a few here for the understanding. The TensorFlow, which is developed using C++, it's open source done by Google. This gives a integrative layer for Java also. And then we have a RapidMinder, which is a very good machine learning platform itself. It is developed in Java. It has a UI where everybody from the beginner to a advancer can use, drag and drop the data and visually see how the model is getting generated, how you want the data mining to be done. All that it can be done, and it also provides a library to connect with us. And Kiwi, I think in the first version, they started with the C language. After that, in the in the version 2, they started developing in Java because they know it's an enterprise application. It can be used in large scale. So that's it's in the Java, and it also provides a Java library to connect to do the data. It is mainly used by the research center to do the researching purpose, and also for teaching students of the research and training. Azure is, we all know it's a cloud platform, but it also provides a library to connect for AI ML, which is done in C#, but it gives the connectivity tools for the Java. As the name says, it's deep learning for Java. This is done in Java. It has good supporters of connecting with Java, and also it uses internally Hadoop and Spark to support the large scale of data set for the modeling purpose. It's Amazon one, actually. The other one is a Watson. This is also a cloud platform supported, and it has a library which is not developed in Java. It is developed in C or Sharp. And then it gives a library for us to connect with this. Let's say we have all this, like...
Yes. Yeah, no, sorry, Thamara, I had one question there. Yes, you have a lot of these libraries. But one thing which I want to ask, are these libraries have any standards follows? Example, right? Like say, if I wanted to switch between these libraries. Today I use, let's say, RapidMiner, right? So
Yeah.
tomorrow I wanted to switch to DL4J, right? So how easy or difficult it is?
Okay. With the current one, everybody owns their own library, so they don't follow any standard or way to connect with us. Okay, so it's a problem today.
Right. So that means there is a vendor lock. So if I have to change from RapidMiner to DL4J, so then I have to do recoding.
Yes, that's the problem today.
Okay, got it.
Even not via Spring Boot and all, right? Because they are providing a lot of interfaces in between to communicate such things.
Correct, but there is no a standard way. If you want to, how do I put it? If you want, JPA we are using, right? Under the JPA, we can use any database underneath any providers, right? That's a standard way.
SQL, right? ANSI standard for SQL.
Yeah.
Right. So basically that's right. So can any of you tell us, like, so I think Thamari has brought in a right point. So we have this JDBC, right? JDBC or JPA. So if you go to that, Java has a standard. So it has a standard set of interfaces. Anybody can do the implementation, whether it is Oracle or Postgres or MySQL or whichever the database I wanted to use. So I can just program based on the interfaces, right? And underneath, they have their own implementation. If I change the driver and the database, then apart from that, I don't need to do any more changes as such, right? So basically, it should be seamless. So
specification, right? Watson always started, they have a spec.
Right.
JSP servlet, like JLS, Java language specification.
Correct.
Sun being the creator of Java, they created a specification of a technology, whereas people who are providing the solution, they are called as RA, reference implementation.
Correct. That's right. You're right, Raghavan. So that's what I think we will get into a bit more details. But we just wanted to give you a gist of, like, what is the problem area, and then, like, how this is getting solved with the help of the JSR 381.
One question here, right? It's a good point talking about, Raja, you brought in as well. People should know it's not a seamless transformation of one library to other. Certainly there is a price we need to pay. Also, learning. Let's say from A to B, if I switch, it is not just a drop-in replacement of A.jar to B.jar. We need to be aware about the consequences. There could be some misses, right? We may have to compromise on certain things. It could not be meeting the standards or quality, etc. Also, the learning. There's a learning, right?
Exactly, that's right.
Third point that you say, I think native dependence, I understand. Probably they have a tie-up with the hardware, probably, right? What is the third point you say? Not Java friendly. What exactly do you mean?
Okay, you guys all know the AIML is all about the math and the. So we don't know internals of that. As to be frank, if I want to code in AIML, I might not know what each and every neural network, how do I connect, what should be the learning percentage, what should be the failure percentage, and what kind of learning network I have to put. All this is really difficult to understand.
You mean the domain knowledge?
Yeah, domain knowledge of AIML. How do we configure that? So that all not friendly today. Java friendly in the sense it's not easy to know what that method does.
Okay, sure.
So maybe, Raghavan, like when we show the things in one of the upcoming examples, it will be more detailed. So you'll be able to clearly.
Sure. Thanks, Ajay. Okay. So what I thought was, Java friendly means doesn't matter anybody who is providing the implementation, reference implementation, they will, at the end of it, when I want to make use of a particular library in a Java application, it's given to me in a form of a jar file. Or
no, actually, that is true. But I think what Thamari is talking about, these libraries which are like giving an interface, but you had to have underneath there is a native dependency and all other things which you have to deal with when you are using any of these libraries.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, but
Got
when it comes to JSR, then you have a different process. Yes, as you said, it will be pure jar.
all right. Thank you. Please carry on. Yeah.
Okay. To address all this problem, we have something called JSR 381. This is the evolution of
What do you mean by JSR, Thamaraikkann?
it's a formal documentation which contains the specification and technology to be proposed to include in the Java platform. As I think in the last slide, we discussed a lot of things about JDBC and JPAs, and we also have a Java API for JSON. All this came into Java platform using this JSR proposal only.
But basically, you're talking about a group of people who propose this and then go through the Java community process, and then arrive at conclusion on how this has to be done and things like that, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Basically,
So
it also comes with the JCP, right? Java
yes,
specification.
Yes.
JCP is Java community process where there's more
Right.
like consortium like W3C,
correct.
for which any request that you need to submit a proposal, as Thamar rightly said, that's called JSR, Java specification request.
That's right now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
So this is how they have taken the JSR 381 into reality. They first started an idea. That idea started only for the image related classification and object detection. If you go and search for JSR 381, you usually see it as a visual recognition. That is the first they started with. And then they formed an expert group with Oracle, IBM, and Amazon, which helped them to know how to train the model in a standard way, how to evaluate and deploy into the production implementation. And then they went with the testing with the deep nets and the Amazon Java learning. With that, they are able to bring in the standard specification for all the ML tasks related to the images in the Java language. With that, they went to get a feedback with the early adopters and the large Java developer community, which made them to think beyond the visual recognition. And now we are in a continuous learning where we are trying to bring all the ML techniques and tools also inside the JSR, and we are going to see this beyond the sectors of the image, not only image. So we all know when something is up and running, bringing in the standard format is very difficult. Internally in every company also we face this. So we have this kudos group, which is the initial proposer. Zoran, Frank, and Sandy is the initial proposer of this. They got a supporting hands from the DevOps, Amazon, and Crossboard, and IBM, and Broad. With that, they proposed the JSR in the Java community process.
Okay, that's really great, and I think this is cool thing. And I'm sure, when JCP gets involved in here, so they would have asked a lot of questions to find whether this JSR had any specific goals or objectives. So, is there something like that which can give a bit more details around that?
Yes, anything we want to propose something standard, we have to sell it with a good use case for the developers. So this is what they came up. They said it will be a user-friendly API design, and it will have a high level of abstraction for the ML, and we'll have the well-defined APIs. So, and it will be easy to implement. And if you want to expand it with your custom classifier, it will have that extension model also. This is what they proposed with.
Okay, good. So that means there is a standardization which they are bringing in both in terms of the API, how it is defined, and how you can plug in your implementations in different layers as well, right?
Yes.
Okay, I think that brings me in another question. So, is there a pictorial representation of the architecture which you can help us to walk through so that it will be easy for us to understand?
Yeah, this is the first level of architecture which was proposed when we started with the image recognition. This is
Mhm.
the one they proposed. You can see it is as a multiple layer, but the topmost is Java library, and you can see at the end we have machine learning engines. So in between is what we are trying to bring in the standard. What we did, we have provided the, sorry, in the JSR, I mean, we have provided the standard interface which the service provider should implement to connect with them. And then we have a standard public API which the user who wants to use the machine learning or something, they can use it. In between, it is the implementation layer. This is what they brought in the
Okay.
first architecture.
Got it. So if I understand correctly, so you have multiple standardization which you brought in this one, right? So one is the visual recognition public API, which is the API as a user I can start using it, so that I can just say like, hey, I just want to classify this image, or I wanted to predict this, whatever, right? And then like, so there may be guys like IBM or Oracle or Amazon, whoever it is, right? So they might have their own implementation of the respective machine learning or machine learning engine, right? So for that also, to make sure like everybody follows the standard, you have this generic ML layer and the service provider layer, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So and in the visual recognition reference implementation layer, so that is where like this is what is you will have the actual logic which you wanted to do with specific to your use cases, right?
That is true.
Okay.
So I'll just present the first two libraries they went with is this.
Okay. Great.
I think it's
So sorry, Thamaraikkann. One question to the audience. Does anyone like did you guys have seen this earlier? So any one of these dependencies? Anyone? Okay, good. So we'll get you more details around these. These are the two which will help you to explore more on this further. Please go ahead, Thamaraikkann.
Yeah, the first one, thank you, Raja. The first JSR is done for visual recognition. That's why the name is called visual recognition. And it has two things. One is API, another one is the reference implementation. We spoke about it. The API is nothing but the standard libraries which will try to interact with the suppliers, with the users, or with the underlying service provider. This is the part. And then this is a reference implementation where you use the standard API and implement and connect with your service provider. So the service provider today, and I think during their evaluation also, they talked with the deep nets. So this is the one which it's the first one, they have done it. And we are going to walk through today with this tool.
Great. Okay, so now we have seen the architecture, we have seen the libraries, at least the first question of libraries which are available. So if you can connect these two and show us which ones fits in where, I think that will be more clear for all of us.
Yeah, for first, when I was able to understand, I also got a little confused. Then this is the diagram of it. The visual recognition API library, which is the public API, and also it has the generic ML layer and the service provider interfaces. It is a standard set of just an abstraction layer. So there is another one called other dependency we saw, which is the reference implementation, which is an implementation which connects all this layer and then your machine learning also with the service provider. This is the last one, which is the library which is coming in from their deep nets. I think hope it's clear.
I have a few fundamental questions. I'm not sure this is the right time to ask. We're talking about implementation, right?
Yeah.
Probably out of all audience, right? From a pure Java development background, if I wear the hat. First of all, when we say API, anywhere do we mean to say a REST API or just a pure application programming interface, a method?
It's an interface.
At the moment, it's just an API method to call from a Java class, right? Is that
That's right. It's a later part, yes.
The API design indicates only plain method level API, right?
Correct. That's right.
Thank
So
you.
basically, it provides a set of interfaces and the methods which you can use it for your own like programming.
Great. Other question is, if we were to take, I know that, it is just a pure Java's own plain Java, or any of the libraries are the implementation providers you spoke about, right? They embrace, let's say, Spring Starter. Mostly, if I take about Spring being an anonymous companion for the enterprise applications now, also notwithstanding Spring AI. So do they, any of them, leverage the Spring AIs as their one of the bottommost layers, or just with the plain JVM and JDK, I should be able to run this? Is there a thought? What are your thoughts on this?
You can just simply run with the plain old JVM. So that's how we will show you the example also. So that's what we have, like it's a simple Java program which you can run it on your own JVM.
Excellent.
Having said that, but there's the other side of it. So you see there's a service provider implementation, right? So when it comes to that area, so then there are things which each of the service provider, they can do their own implementation and things like that. But I think in a nutshell, we should be able to, or we are able to run it within the specific JVM itself.
Got it. Subsequent question, Raja. Again,
yes,
what minimal version of JDK that is recommended? Again, I don't talk about Java 7.5 until otherwise somebody is still running it from a legacy purpose, from a business standpoint. If anybody who wants to try out newly, the latest is always the greatest. I don't deny. But is there a standard that is being guideline recommended or advised by the JSR?
I don't think JSR has any recommendation. Thamara, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think from 17 onwards, you should be able to run this.
Got it. One last question on this, right? What is the minimal hardware capability? Can you run it on, again, these days, people may have different devices. I'm primarily talking this question from a Raspberry Pi. The smallest of device I could run a Java program with, would that sustain?
That's a very good question. But frankly speaking, I have not tried it out, but even we've not get into that level of details. But yeah, I think that's an interesting part to
We'll try it out, Raja. We'll try it out, but I just thought I'd throw this question.
No, I think that's a really valid question, Raghavan, because many of us, when we want to do something on these areas, definitely it should be a good option to use just a Raspberry Pi, and then I should be able to do it. So and just my thought on this, only thing is like it's about the amount of data you use it for training, right? So if that can fit in within the memory and the CPU what we have, then we should be able to do it. But yeah, as I said, frankly, I've not tried it out. I can check it out and come back with that.
Thank you. Yeah. Please carry on. Thank you. I'm good.
Sure. Okay, so anybody else have any other question before we move on further on this?
I get, we got all the answers by the questions. Yes, thanks.
Yeah, that's the idea behind, but still, I'm sure each of you will have a bit more detailed questions for sure. Okay, so Thamaraikkann, in that case, I think let's move on. I think this is really great to get to know the high-level details about the architecture and the libraries and things like that. Can we see that in action now?
Yeah, before we go on to the demo, can you just brief us on the machine learning process today, what we do?
Right. I think it's this is also again a quick recap, guys. So I'm sure each of us have the great understanding about the machine learning. So in the previous slides, when we talked about machine learning, deep learning, and all the stuff, so we talked about two things. One is the data. The next one is about the algorithm. All right. So when you say data, so the data is very much important for the machine learning process because you need to make sure you have a good amount of data and you collect the data and you do the appropriate cleanup or whatever the processing you wanted to do to make it usable. And then you do basically start creating the appropriate algorithm. So there are a number of algorithms available. So you can choose whichever the algorithm suits your use case. And then you use the data to train the model with the help of this algorithm. And obviously, two things you need to keep in mind when you're training these models in the machine learning process. One is the accuracy of the what level of accuracy we get based on this data and the algorithm, and what level of errors we get. The more accuracy we get is more beneficial for us. So that's where what we can do is you can keep tuning the model and try training again to make sure you until you get the good accuracy for sure. So these two factors which can help you to fine tune your model. Okay. So once you have the trained model or tuned model which is available for you, then you can deploy this model and make it available for use, right? Which means you can do this in production. And basically you can do a test with a smaller set of data, and then you can start using this in whichever the application you want, right? So that is the process we normally follow. So that's what I have done in one of our use cases as well, where we wanted to basically cache the the prices for the airlines or the hotels, right? So that's the gist of it, Tamarai. So now, if you can, I know you had a disclaimer, so if you can go ahead and get a demo for all of us, that will be helpful. But before the demo, I think it's we can just give them quick gist of what is this demo is all about.
Okay, thanks, Raja. See, I did a quick demo in the beginning, which shows the cat image, and it was able to recognize and say what percentage is a cat and dog. I just want to show you guys what does that code look like. This is the code. If you see, this is the image classifier, which is coming from the ML, which is the specification class specification. So here you see we use the neural network image classifier, and then we gave a model, which is the trained model as an input. That's it to the classifier. The classifier then able to classify my image file and say it is what percentage it belongs to cat and dog. So this is the one part of it. So we
Right.
are
So Thamaraikkann, one question here. So that means, so if there are trained models available, I can just simply use them and then do whatever the things I needed for my own application, right? That's
yes,
how this looks like. It's as simple as that.
yes. But it also impulse that some neural network trained model will not be able to understand from others. So the model itself has a different format. If the format is aligned, it's appropriate, then we can use that model for this purpose. Otherwise,
Got it. Please go ahead.
otherwise we have to do some modification in that model to get it to our format before we use it as a trained model. This also helps in the production deployment. We can train the model and put it on that model for the classification in the real time.
Yeah.
So this looks good, right? We can use the trained model. But when we begin, we want to train it, right? How do we train the model? Okay. Okay, before we go on that, this is the training the model. I'll just show that. I think we all now know we want to learn. It's something called in our brain also something called neural network. So we have to tell which network it has to follow to learn. So this is the network architecture which is given. And we also need to tell what is the height and size of the image to the so that it can process well. And we have labels which says what is the model we are or what is the classification we are trying to bring in using this file. Okay, the label is just have what is the classification we want to bring in. Our other one is training the model. What is this training means? It says which image. I have set of images of cat and set of images of a dog. So I will tell this file which is the image and what is that classification. So this is the text file. It's just called training file. And that I think this error and learning, it's all about ML1. And then we are exporting this model, train the model, get the model. Any questions?
So good thought here, right? So the cat and dog is not a domain object. Basically, we need to provide sufficient samples
Correct.
to understand the patterns and have a framing, layout, wire. Like when we say wiring, right? More like a sketch, it will make it. Accordingly, whatever the test input that we provide, it will try to fit in based on the model that it has learned from the samples, and it will try to classify, right?
Yes, correct.
That's right.
More is better, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah, if you look at it, it's very simple, neat, and it's user-friendly, right? So all you say is like, this is the network architecture, this is my training data, and this is my label. Now you do the training and get me the model ready. And then with that model, you can do whatever the classification is needed.
This is all about image part, right?
Yeah. So just how I forget that this neural network
Demonstration is about image classification, right?
Yes.
If I were to experiment this with, let's say, for example, a different set of images, instead of cat and dog animal, I want to try it with the people, let's say leaders, I want to identify. Let the program identify, let's say, for example, Jawaharlal Nehru versus Gandhiji, for example.
Yeah.
Right. This is one set of image. This is a people, animal. Likewise, I want to differentiate it between a floppy disk and a hard drive. For that matter, they belong to different subdomains. So how do I pick the actual models? Where should I land upon, right? You have given already, you said a lot of different implementations. So what should be my first point? If I were to, I'm still sticking on to image classification itself. Where would be my next step? What is this model? Which model, family of algorithms, sorry, MI algorithms I should be choosing?
Okay, you are talking about the neural network which we need to
Probably. So I'm just
algorithm.
Right. So
I
that
want
one,
yeah.
there are two things there. So one is about the neural network architecture which we wanted to use, and the other one is about the training data and the labels. So these are the pieces which you have to make sure you have it appropriately for whatever the use cases, whether it is a floppy disk versus like CD or whatever, or even the other people related, right? So these are the three different factors which will vary, and obviously the sizes of the images as well. All right. And in this neural network part, yes, we will cover a little bit later in the demo. But ideally for an image recognition, so if we have the standard network architecture, so that should be able to be used for any image recognition part of it. So, so if you have the appropriate training data and label, then they should be able to tell you the like the given the object. So what kind of object it is, whether it is Jawaharlal Nehru or
Sure. That's a good input I heard from you, Raja. Potentially, another insight is the images should be of the same size.
Correct.
It cannot be
Right.
very. That's we have to read between the lines. Only then it can probably make a better decision and judgment of an object that's being captured.
That's right.
Thanks.
This is all part of the first step of the machine learning, which is the data collection. So we have to collect the appropriate data for your problem statement. So
Is any library available for pre-processing the data? Because for the data collection part, like we have the lots of images and there are lots of available size. So in Python, like what we can do, first of all, we can prepare the data. And after that, we are doing the sampling on that. After the sampling, we are certain amount of the data will go to the model. After that, we can do the validation with other data, like it's correct or not. And based on that, we can predict. So here, like is any library available for pre-processing the data and also for the validating the model, how many accuracies available in our model? So is any library available or like?
Okay, this is
Right.
this.
Actually, sorry, Thamari. I'll just share my thoughts and then you can please go ahead. So regarding the preparation of the data, so this particular JSR will purely talk about the standard APIs and the implementation people can provide and things like that. So the data preparation part is not covered as part of this JSR. So we have to have a preparation done by us separately, and there are other libraries available in the market, or like, so you can use them to prepare your data. So there are a lot of data lake related libraries available or pipelines available which can help you to prepare this data, right?
And for validating the model, is any
yes, so
you have to
here,
write another library or?
now this library itself is have a mechanism to get some metrics for you. So it can tell you, even when Thamari was showing the demo, right? It was showing the basically an accuracy there, right? So 99 or 90+% for cat and 0.000% for a dog and things like that. So it has its own metrics which you can use it for the accuracy.
Confluence metrics is available, correct? On that website.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Confluence metrics, like based on that we are validating it.
Yes.
How many false positive false.
That's a good question, right? Probably like extending to my previous question. Assuming that I'm taking this as a sample code, I'm getting my hands dirty with the different images, and I see typically the algorithm doesn't seem to match. I don't get a satisfactory result. What best I could do is just to adjust those perimeters. When you say errors, the algorithm's output quotient, I could play around with it, and sampling I can increase. Is there anything else that you would advise?
Right. So there are three type of things you could do. You already mentioned two of it, right? One is like, yes, the sampling, and the other one is these parameters. The third thing is about the neural network architecture, what you use, right?
Domain, what Thamari mentioned, I need to go back to university and study.
Correct, exactly.
Our own previous BE or BTech, we need to go back to academics and study the paper once again, take the textbook.
Right. So that is where I think so now to make it easier for people, there are a lot of guys who are getting these models prepared and make it available readily for use. So if you go to this Apache, sorry, not Apache, Amazon deep learning for Java, so they have many of the models which is trained, tested, and available for you to use. Yes, so you have those standards, but obviously if you have a custom use case and if you need to do something, yes, you have to get into that area. But if you have an expert group which is familiar with that, so you can take a help of them instead of you are getting into this details. So that the thought here is, it's like a abstraction, right? So from a Java side, you can just say this, and that should be able to get you the things for you. And if you want to get into more details, yes, you can definitely, you are welcome to do that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Guys, I'll take few minutes just to announce the surprise, as I mentioned in the beginning of the session, right? There is a contest. So what you have to do, you have to give us a shout out on LinkedIn or on Twitter, and about this session, like how you're feeling about this session, tag the Java user group Gujarat, tag our speakers, and share your thoughts, like how you're finding this session. And the accounts which will get us the more number of impressions, you will be gifted 1 year subscription of IntelliJ Ultimate Edition. So that's going to be a surprise for you, and we will be announcing the winners after 24 hours. So do participate in numbers, and yeah, I'll let the guys resume the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikash.
Thank you.
Maybe we could try machine learning to find that out, because
Good one, Rahul. Yes.
Good.
Go
Okay.
ahead, Raman. Let's move on.
Okay. Yeah. we all now talked about the images, right? And now I had a thought, is it only about image? No, right? So there is one thing, one demo I have, which talk about something different. So I'll just go back.
Again, go back to the slide. Yes, yeah.
So this is the second demo we are going to do. I'm basically lastminute.com is all about travel. We are a OTA travels. So I have a question. I am a traveler. I am a single. I want to visit the adventure places. On the month of, let's say, May, I want to know what are all the list of places which can comfortable suits this kind of technology. So this is the use case I had. Just for references, guys, I have included 1, 2, 3 because it's numbers is what I'm going to model it with the model. So that's why I will put the numbers here. Okay. And then I have a small data set. This is the type of traveler and the type of place and the month. And then I have included only top 3 in the India to travel. Other places I have not included. So it says if I'm travel single to the adventure places on the January, the most place to be visited is Goa and Uttarakhand, not Delhi. So same wise, with family, I'm going to an adventure place as a January month. What could be the places to visit? This is a sample data set we have for the demo. Okay. I'm going back to the IntelliJ. So now we have done with image. We want to see how the CSV file looks. This is the CSV file I have, which is just put a 4-5 lines on the demo slide to the evidence. This is a very small data set I have, and this is the example. So this means the data set looks like I'm going to give an input data which says what is the type of travel, what is the place I want to visit, what kind of places I want to visit, and what is the month I wanted. So this is all called as features in the standard ML and language. These 3 features I'm giving it. I need to know to classify this as 3 different things, which is Goa, Delhi, or Uttarakhand. So this is so it's called multi-classification. So we have a similar class called multi-classifier network. So we are going to classify this using the multi-classifier. So here it says number of input. As we see, there is 3 things we are going to give. And then the output is number is 3 because we are going to classify it as a Goa, Delhi, or Uttarakhand. So this is something called hidden layer, which we all spoke about now. How do I mention the network model, all that? This is a hidden network model. This is a feed forward network model, which have a lot of hidden networks. So here, for simplicity, I have put a double of the inputs for the learning curves. So these are the parameter related to the learning. And here, important thing is the data set. This is a data set. This is an interface given at the standard layer by the JSR. This is an interface. So I have a class where sorry, I'm just going to, okay, this is nothing. This is a tabular data set, which is coming from the DeepNet. So I am using a DeepNet to convert that model data set to the standard model. This is the way they have used the dataset. So the CSV file is converted as a tabular dataset to be understood by the machine learning provider, and then it is given as a training set for the classifier. Okay. So now in the classifier, I'm saying you classify me. I'm going as a family to the adventure place on the month of January. So it's going to give me a probability where I can visit out of this 3. It's learned, and then it's giving the value for my data set, which is the family and the adventure and the month of the. Here, if you can see, this is saying mostly you can go to Goa or Uttarakhand. Delhi could be a last option for you. This is the code it's used for multi-classification. Any questions?
It looks more of an average of samples, isn't it? Ranking based on the average
Correct.
sample what you provide. So potentially it could infiltrate, right? If the samples based on the inputs what we get it. Okay, I see more towards the strength of the data sampling that we provide.
Yeah, it's AI
Yeah,
ML
right.
all about data. If you have a right set of data, you can achieve right set of results.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so this is just to make sure, like, it's not about this. If you talk about JSR, everybody thinks that it's a visual recognition, right? It's not about just visual
Got it.
recognition. We can also do a lot more. So just to showcase that part is what this example was taken up. And also it has like a different implementation, right? Image classifier is one such, and multi-class classifier is another. And we have some more as well, so we will see that. Tamara, if you can yeah, so showcase some of the like the JSR related classes or interfaces which we have, and wherever we have the implementation, that will be helpful. Yeah, I think you have the slide here.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm a little faster than
No.
This is the data set. See, all the languages, all the libraries today provide their own data interfaces. It's not a standard way. It's also a blocker when we want to move from another machine learning to another algorithm or a machine learning engine. So here, what they have done is they provided a standard set of data set. So they have an interface called data set, and they have a basic data set. This too is used to identify the data set. And then this is the, so I'm just mentioned in the previous architecture, we have seen a generic ML layer and the recognition layer. So this is the way we are split. Those classes are there in which part of the layer. So dataset is the standard one, which is done by JSR, provided for the public interfaces. And this is the set which is there in the underlying machine learning engines. So one part is data that is in the machine learning. The other part is how do we do the classification. Classification, regression, and clustering is part of the machine learning. So how they have done those classes. This is a generic ML layer, which is called as classifier. It has an image classifier and neural image classifier, which is a subclass, which is another neural network classifier. And then you can have a multi-classifier. So just to have a question. So we have looked at the two demos today, right? Cat dog detection, and then we had done one traveler advisor. So which classifier we have used?
This
Guys, come on.
image classifier and multi-class classifier, right?
Yeah. So the first is cat tag recognition is a image classifier, but it's part of multi-class classifier. And the second one is direct multi-class classifier, which is text-based. Thank you, guys. So this is the abstraction they are giving. So this is a standard interface they are giving. And then this is the one they have implemented in the reference implementation layer, which connects to the underneath the machine learning edge. Okay. So is this the only thing which supports? No. We have something called binary classifier. All we know what is binary is one or true or false or right or wrong. So it's a binary classifier also is part of it. This is the binary class interface they have. And then this is the subsequent implementation layer which connects to the machine learning they have brought in. Regression is something which we can predict with a continuous enormous number of input data. This is in a very beginning state in JSR. So they have only a simple regression, linear regression, which will take one input and one as an output for now. And this is the virtual recognition layer they have, which connects to the underneath the deep nets or machine learning for now.
Good. Thank you,
So,
Thamaraikkann. So if you can give me another example or another use case, so that now it will be helpful for us to correlate more on these lines, right?
okay. Something this today we travel a lot, and I'm from travel domain, and it's easy to relate. That's the reason I have kept it here. For example,
Sorry for the interruption. Just to let people know. So even I was also in the travel domain for a longer period. So that's why we thought we'll just go with this, and it'll easily correlate for everyone, right? So that's why we have taken this examples.
I had one interesting thought. I don't know. I thought I could share, right?
Yeah.
Good use case would be profile match. Like when I saw the Boolean decision making, right? You give all the inputs. Would that person be a good fit for spouse match, right? Match Sati,
Yeah.
Sati, right? Satya.
Yes.
That could be feeding all the inputs, grabbing the social profile handle, etc. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I don't know.
Or even for the recruitment.
Could be on your GitHub profile, LinkedIn, etc. Just
Yeah.
to define a model, build a model that could potentially give a possible hiring or possible match. Right? So we could decision making with Boolean classifier or what the other thing, right? That could be the real time use cases we could build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice
That's
example. Thank you. So this is one model we want to give an idea to you guys. How do we take it forward with this JSR 381? So here, if you see, the customer search is like seasonal or local event, anything related to that. We, as a business, I want to predict how many bookings I will get it on this season, or what could be the booking average price, so that when a customer comes and search for it, I can give them a tag saying this is the average price if you book it now, or if you book near to the closing or a check-in date or a travel time, this could be the cost of it. So this is just to give the gist of what the price could be. That's the reason we have done this demo. We want to give this use case for you to think. Now we have multiple data, in the sense input data, season or local date, the travel date, all that will be there, and we want to give them the booking demand. What could be the demand? What is the, we have seen all these classes, right? How could you approach this use case with the JSR standard? Any guess?
First of all, you need to have the domain inputs sample.
Yeah.
Then JSR model you adopted based on the data set I need to pick, and the algorithm which you already seen it. The domain sample that we need to keep it ready.
Yes. So thanks, Raghava. But in this classification, this belongs to the linear regression. This is a regression use case, but we don't have the support for how do we have multi-class for image or a text-based one for classification? We don't have it for a regression. So this is the use case which we can think of to enhance the JSR to support the multi-class regression, and then we can use it for this kind of use cases. This is one of it we want to give point to think.
So basically the thought here is, yes, we have a set of APIs and the reference implementations available for us to use. There are cases where we may not have things covered within this, whatever we have today, right? So in those cases, so we can obviously bring it back this to the JSR group and tell them this is something which is we feel is needed, and we can work with them, and we can also amend this JSR to include these as well. All right. So that is the thought process here. And you can write your own implementation and use it, not just for this one, even for the existing image classifier or a multi-class classifier. If you want to have your own machine learning engine, you are welcome to have your own implementation and use it. So we will, I will try to see the different implementation. One is, I think we're talking about the deep net for sure. So if time permits, we will also see in another one so that you guys will have an idea.
Okay, one question, right? About the data set. Especially, from data science, we used to get all the, even Gov.in, people who from audience who was not aware. I know I've tried it with the Gov.in. Government of India itself gives the Sensex. For healthcare domain, typically people go and get it. Likewise, Kaggle.com, generally they have a lot of different data sets. So from a travel domain, because you guys are experienced in it, what could be the best spot or the location where we can get some data sets, sample data sets, rather than creating my own, right? No spot I could make maximum 20, 30, not beyond that. If at all, one thing for sure, we know that if the model to be very effective, the data set should be very supplementing. I don't really say voluminous, good amount of quantitative data should be provided that has a direct connection with a little bit of volume as well. So where do I get hold of certain predefined data for us, right? To get used to that.
Raghav, I have gone through this for in case of this development I went through, but I don't remember the website name, but I can ping you after this call where they
Wonderful.
went.
Thank you.
So it has a good set of data set to do the booking prediction mainly.
Correct. And adding to that, Raghavan, each of these different big players in the travel market, right? So they have this data as a product concept.
Okay.
So you can also, like, they have their own APIs through which we can get the data as well.
But it is paid. When you say data as a service, is it free or?
It is a mix. So some of them you can get it for free. Some of them you have to pay for it.
Okay.
So if you need a very good accuracy, you have to pay, Raghav.
Correct. I get it. See, it's just only about, what? Good volume with a decent quality, right? Because rather than me generating the data, if somebody else has already done it, why not to reinvent the wheel, right? We could make
Right.
it. Yeah.
That's
For experimental purpose, we have lot of data for free itself, but just
Sure.
that accuracy purpose, we have to pay for someone.
Perfect.
I'll ping you or definitely add it in this Git link. Sorry,
Sure.
reference so then people can use it. Thank you for bringing in that.
okay.
So,
So let's move on.
just to, I think we are already gone through, just for a reference, I have added for the image classifier, what and all we have to do. I think we have already gone through this. We need to have a good width and height, a definite width and height. And then we should have a labels where it says what the classification is. And we should have a train text which says what image file is linked to which classification, which label, and then we have to give them the network model, and then we can train the model with the specific class. This is all about how do we do it for images. And this one also we looked as part of the examples, which is a multi-class classification. This is using the feed-forward network. That's why we don't see that network model here. This is the binary classifier. Everything is like, we don't have output numbers here because it's always one. And then we just have an input and number of layers which we need to learn. This is also based on the feed-forward network. Okay, just for a quick bite, we have seen this classification, right? Now we want to see to the real use case where this classification, what kind of classification we use. For example, in the wildlife conservation organization, they take lot of pictures of the in the forest. They take lot of pictures, or in the zoos they take lot of the picture of the animals. They want to categorize the images based on that. Okay, the shape, color, and texture and all. What kind of classification which we have seen today can be used for this? Any guess? This is based on an image. They want to have a category.
But image classifier or the image classifier we have got in the data set.
Yeah. Thank you. Which is multi-class classification based on images. This is the first use case which we have seen also. Okay, the other one, online store receives the customer feedback. We also give a lot of reviews to the customer.
Sorry, Thamari. I think just one thought before we go into the next one, right? So image classifier, that's right. But why do we have to use a multi-class classifier? If you can just brief, that will be helpful.
Yeah, here, thanks, Raja. Here there is a cat, dog, or bird, or it can be anything else also, right? So this is a category we are bringing in, and we know this is what we want to category. That is called multi-class classifier. It has a classification already defined. For that, we are trying to use. That is why we have to use multi-class classifier. For
So
example,
it is not a simple cat, or if it is a cat or not, or like, if it is not about simply recognizing a cat among all the images, it has to recognize multiple different the objects, and that's where you're saying we were to use the multi-class classification.
For example, let's say whether you want to identify only this is cat or not. That means you can use the simple one. Okay. Because we are saying I want to category dog or cat or a bird, then we have to do it says more than one category. So it's called multi-class classifier.
Understood.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, this is the other use case where we buy a lot of things in the website and we give reviews. In that reviews, if you see, we don't specify anything. If there is an issue or anything we want to appreciate, we don't know which part they have appreciated. So we want to categorize whether it is related to the shipping part they are saying customer, or it is about the quality of the product or the customer service we have provided from that store, or it is a written thing which they feel the difficulty or review comments. So this use case, what it falls into? Which classification it falls into?
Something based on text. What
Yeah.
we have, and don't have it handy. It is image, abstract image.
Okay.
It's text-based one, that's right, Raghavan. But again, it will be, Tamara, you can correct me if I'm wrong. My guess is it's again a multi-class classifier, because we have to do whether it is shipping or a product quality or a customer service, etc.
Thanks, Raja. So this is also related to multi-classifier. Why I have included two cases. We want to differentiate that multi-class classification can be used for the images also, text-based also, when we have a categorization in the place already known.
Meaning the output is more than one. It's not just a simple Boolean. It could be one of the many.
Correct.
Right, that's right.
And you know that set already.
One question, interesting question, right? I think somebody had asked.
Yeah.
The moment in a typical application development, we have a debugging.
Correct.
I know that apart from, we already discussed this, there's an extension to the same thing, right? Apart from increasing the thresholds, right? Probably the failure factor and the sampling. Is there anything else like a debugging I can do as a developer?
I don't have an idea.
See, Raghavan, that debugging, when you say because it's all two cases here, right? One is about training, the other one is how do you use the trained model, right?
So, Adi, it's all about what I understand from Raghava is he wants to know how do I tune the model?
In a way, more sort of, and more like, say, let's say IntelliJ IDEA itself, we have a debug mode. Potentially, when it reads a lot of different sample, how it is progressing, or where, let's say, for example, I have 100 data sets, 100 values for travel domain you said. I'm picking up from a minimal data set I start with.
Right.
And to me, it looks like it is not really satisfactory. So intermediary, how does it actually the trajectory, how does it go? So the debug
mode,
you
can definitely do that, because for at least with a deep net and deep learning for Java from Amazon, so they have these two different machine learning implementations, right? Machine learning engine, which they have created. So you will be able to debug and get into the details of how this training is happening, and what is the score for each of these data set.
The reason why I'm asking, Raja, see, I know that as what from a takeaway from the session, okay, maybe the output is not satisfactory. I keep adding more data sets. And probably
I understand.
Still,
I understand your point. So whether I should my data is correct or my model is correct. So for that I need to understand what is happening. Yes, you can do that. So when you see the code snippet, what you have seen is just a simplicity point of view. We have put in only this much, but this itself has its own implementations, right? So you can get into the implementation when you're running the training. So it will actually get into the ML engine and do the training. So that is also written in Java. So in case of DeepNet, you can definitely debug.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
And also that learning percentage should be in an increasing model. It should not be in decreasing model. That is one thing I learned as part of this research. So that also will give an signal that are we tuning it in the right way.
Right way. The model's learning capacity.
Yes.
So basically it's a scoring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
And the error percentage should be less when we are training the model. This too we have to keep in mind when we are training this model.
Yeah, and that's where the parameters what Thamaraikkann mentioned that whether you have to see you can do this one, right? Either you wanted to get an accuracy of 99%, or you wanted to make sure no matter if the accuracy reaches 99%, also I wanted to or 100 cycles has to be I have to go through 100 cycle of training. So all this can be done with the help of those parameters.
Something similar to JUnit, I think somebody else has asked as well. Is there a testing framework that has evolved for us to especially train and validate before I make it productionized, right? Or CI/CD if you want to integrate it.
And not that which I'm aware of. Tamara, I'm not sure whether you have come across anything. But yeah, that's a good thought. We can definitely check it out and come back with the answer for that.
No worries. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, obviously, because and that's definitely a good thing. As a developer, we should make sure we are able to test it and before we move further to the next environment.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a last bit for us for today. In the e-commerce platform, there will be a lot of login attempts, right? We want to take a decision whether to give access to that user or not. Which classifier we can use?
Boolean, that's what you said.
Yeah.
Boolean.
Yeah.
Good guys.
Right.
Good guys.
Nice. Binary classification is the one we can use. Thank you, guys. Okay.
So the next thing I think so Raghavan and many of the other guys, I know you were particular about these training and how I can get it done and things like that, right? So Tamari, if you can show some light on how these network models can be configured. I know it's just a matter of a file which you showed us in the code, but how this structure looks like and what are the different options we have.
Yeah. Okay. For now, it's suppose only two things. One is a conventional neural network and feed forwarding network on the implementation reference which we have seen for today. So this is the conventional model. See, seriously looking at this, I couldn't understand anything. So it means that I'm giving the network with a different layer for its learning purpose. I say what is the width it has to follow for each of the learning. And then what should be the learning layer. So this is part, as a Java developer, we might not know. We might to sit with the expertise to understand for this use case, this is my use case, this is the data set I have, what could be my neural network configuration so that I can get the accuracy of, let's say, 80% or 70%. This is the file we can make with the collaboration with the expert and give this as a input for the learning. This is what I mentioned as a network architecture.
Okay, so that means
it
looks like it's a simple JSON. So all we need to do is we need to work with machine learning experts to make sure what is the neural network architecture we need to follow, and then put that across as a JSON format. Then this JSR or implementation library should be able to pick it up and use it.
Yes. It's for both the conventional neural network is used for image purpose, and feed forward is used for our other text-based learning, because it has just the hidden layers across. That inner layers alone, what kind of rule or unit it has to follow, that alone we have to define. This is what I want to add as part of the FYI for us purposes.
So even the binary as well uses the feed forward, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Just to list out what are all the use cases we have, I think we have enough byte to understand it, but just for the reference purpose, we have added. If you want to have only image data, we can use image classifier. In the image data, if you want to have a more than one categorization, we have to go for a multi-class classifier. The multi-class classifier can be extended in the text-based model also. Binary classifier and logical regression we have not seen as part of our demo, but it is, as I said in the class level diagram, it is just started building up. It has only a simple logistic regression class, but it can be used for this spam detection, because an email comes, we want to know whether it's a valid or a spam. That can be used for it, and in the sentimental analysis.
Good. So all this is good, but I think each of us, from the beginning, what we said was like, when you talk about machine learning, so Python is the king there, right? So that's the perception we have, because we have vast variety of libraries and many different people uses it and whatnot, a number of reasons, right? Are there any analysis or studies done comparing or running a test against Java versus Python, and if there are any results which can be shared, so that will help us, I know as a Java developers, how much easy or difficult it is for us to use Java-based APIs.
Okay, this is one article I can say, which is done based on that perception. I figured out who is. This is all about ML is all about, we saw the generative and predictive, it's about accuracy or creativity, right? So there is a classification, regression, and clustering. These are the three top level uh, algorithms which are available to do all this. So this is a comparison study done between the Python and the Java based library. Scikit is a Java Python, and Tribu is a Java based library. This is a study done with a different algorithm under the classification, and then they use something called F1 score. It's not about the performance, it's about the performance of the classification for different algorithm, how accurate it is or how reliable it is. That is the one this talk about, this graph is talk about. So F1 score is nothing but it should be close to 1, then it is a very good one. This is how the comparison is done. Most of the cases, if you see, we are Java and Python is all part of it. Sometimes Java performs well, sometimes Python libraries performs well. So this is about the regression part. The regression has two values. One is RMS value. That RMS value should be as low as possible for the accuracy. And then R2 is near to 1, like classification F1 score. So the study is done to know the reliability or the reliability across the algorithm in both Python and Java. It looks like most of the time it goes hand in hand. This is one case study which is done. Okay.
Thank you, Thamaraikkann. And so that means Java is for it doesn't matter whether I do it in Java or Python, so I can use it any one of this, right?
Yes.
So from the
Study.
results perspective, yes.
So we also have Alan, who had done a paper which says about which is the most used language in the AI/ML today. The Java is also on the topmost, which is on the fourth with Python along with that. This is one more case study which had come. I have included the links here. We can go through details on all about that. With this, we are ending this session. I have included some references for you to take away and see how it works. This is one YouTube which is done by a Frank in New Jersey or New York Java user group. It's a very good use case where, see here, we demonstrated only a simple use cases how to use the JSR. He had demonstrated very well how to use it for the chat box related chatbot related ones also, how to use it and how the learning happens with this JSR, how we will do it. All that he had detailedly explained. If you have time, I definitely recommend you to go through this YouTube for this.
Cool. Thank you, Thamaraikkann. But there are a couple more questions I have before we open up to the audience. So we talked about deep net implementation. So what are the other guys who are implementing it? How well it has been received in the industry? Because when you talk about Python, so there are a lot of libraries available. Many people are writing it, and so people can choose from that. So are there any other reference implementations or any other people who are in this Java field, right? Like having those implementations.
See, everybody wants to use this machine learning or the machine learning engine used to by an enterprise application. That is the reason they want to bring in the JSR standardization, and they can use it in any of the upcoming or running enterprise application. Deep nets we have seen as part of the example, and also on the first slide we have seen the libraries which are available in Java for the ML. There we had a deep learning for Java. That is also one more part where these guys are giving the reference implementation so that we can use it as a JSR, as part of the JSR itself.
All right. I think that reminds me another one. I think Oracle has also its own implement. I think you just mentioned that in the other slide.
Yeah.
So there are like a lot of big players are like having their own implementations getting done here. So that means soon we will have vast variety of implementation which can be used like how it is in Python. Good, thank you. And the other question which I had is, so we remember one of our slides we were talking about uh, something similar to JPA or JDBC and things like that, right? So it's in the same line. So will this be part of your JDK?
Yeah, maybe it will come in future, but I have not seen in any of the roadmap or something to check that. But as it's been a JSR proposal, I think it will be in Java platform very soon.
Yeah, but right now it is not, but yeah, so hoping it will be there in the future. Okay, good. Okay, so any other questions? Because I think that's all I had. I think this is really good. I think there are a couple of questions from the audience. Guys, if you can unmute, and ask your question, that will be helpful.
I have a question. So let's say if I'm working on some enterprise application, right? What should be my first choice? And let's say I'm having my Spring application, right? So is Spring AI will should be my first choice, or this one, JSR?
Okay, so this is purely depends on the use case, because so this one, as we said, it has different level of what do you call it, the classifiers or regressions, all those different things are available here, right? So if you wanted to simply, if you're using a simple application, then you can definitely start with JSR itself. But if you're already using a Spring-based applications, and if you wanted to leverage that, then you can think about Spring AI as well. So it's so depends on on the use case basis.
But I think there is one catch. I think Spring AI is for the LLM based applications. Maybe just we can fetch some APIs of the LLMs and we can run with Spring. I'm not sure, but this is the use case for of Spring AI. But we cannot run the basic models of the machine learning with the Spring AI, I think.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
what I also thought while asking this question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quality ask is
Uh,
the same, right? With respect to Spring, most likely people may tend to ask about the the reusing the existing stuff rather than starting from the scratch.
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Good. Yep, I saw there's another question in the chat. It talks about, can we use the Python TensorFlow trained model in HS file format for the deployment in Java? And which method is more convenient? So I have not tried it personally, but my guess is I don't think we can directly use it in that way. So you do it in Python, or the file format may be different. So we need to see if we can have it in the format which JSR suggests, right? So if you can have it in that format, the output, then we should be able to use it. That's what I think in one of the slides, Thamaraikkann was also mentioning it. So as such, you cannot directly import the trained model from the other libraries and use it directly. That is not possible.
We have to model, that model has to be converted into a model suitable for the JSR to learn. That's it. To understand.
That's right.
Another thought I had, how good it is in terms of big data, like Spark, Hadoop, all that, right? Because when we talk about commodity hardware, more volume. Basically, without volume, the quality is directly proportional to the volume, whether we agree with it or not. Quality versus quantity into that funnel, volume is the base.
Right.
So how do you think, take in terms of big data with machine learning without big data, with and without, right? What is your take on it?
Okay. My point is the library which we have seen, Java learning for Java. Sorry, deep learning for Java. So that one, if you see internally, it uses the Hadoop and Spark to support that.
Covered it. Okay, great.
See, your question is valid. It's not related to JSR. It's about the service provider of the machine learning should have a high capability on handling that big data. That's
The operating ecosystem, basically, with which I am in a comfortable platform for me to do anything with my machine learning, right?
Yeah. That's right.
Great. Thanks.
One question.
Yes, please.
Like actually, as we all know, like most of the things are working on the cloud platforms. Like ultimately, we will deploy the model on the cloud platform to get some result and all this stuff. So like, do we have support for like tools like GraalVM to like generate native images on to run which can boost the performance of that application on the cloud platform?
That's a good question. I did not try it so far. Thamaraikkann, you.
cloud we didn't use, but I think Amazon supports it.
Okay, yeah. So like I'm just like guessing one use case. Like I can create one model of from this library and like I can deploy it on cloud, and from there I can provide APIs to like do the same thing with some APIs over the cloud, basically. So like for this I have asked this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use cases looks like doable, but we just need to try and see. Amazon should support it because they run on the deep learning for Java.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I also have one question related to the training. Like mostly training we are done on the GPU. Okay. For an example, in my system there are 8 GPU. So it is any way like GPU only used for the training and 2 GPU will be available for my other purposes. The system level issue in Java. In Python, I guess there is support. But in Java, we have any support for this?
I couldn't hear you well. Like, there was some disturbance in between. So I'm not sure if it's just for me.
Yeah, let me repeat. So we are training a model in our system, okay? And in our system, we have the 8 CPUs and the 2 GPUs, okay? So is there any way, like for an example, I am doing the multiple tasks on my system. So there will be other system also running, other application. So I want to separate it like 2 CPU will be allocated to my other application and other 6 CPU will allocate to the training. Is any support available for that? Java?
That's a good question. So, can you allocate a specific CPU for this particular application? Is that the question?
Yeah. For specific.
We don't have.
I don't think we can do that. But one of the thing which we were telling in the beginning, right? So when you wanted to train it, so better you have the model trained before you get into the actual production, right? So that means you can do the training separately and have the like trained model available and just apply that in the production. So that way your training and the application will be separated, and in production mostly you'll just apply the the trained model.
Basically, this JSR is not, we can't do it, but in the machine learning frameworks, we can specify.
Yeah, in TensorFlow, I guess there will be support for that. Like we can allocate the specific CPU or the GPU for specific.
Yeah. Okay. So I think as Thamari said, we can also check that the implementation like DeepNet or deep learning for Java, if there is a option to specify that. Good questions. Any other question?
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
How can I access the recording? And then I was seeing the event description about microservice. So is it possible that I can access the recording because I joined later the meeting?
Yeah, so for the recording, Bashir, we will be uploading the recording on our YouTube channel. I have already posted the channel in the chat window. You can go and you can check that. In couple of days, the video will be uploaded.
Okay, thank you so much.
Cool. So any other questions before we conclude? Okay, looks like not. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Vikas, for inviting us to be part of this Gujarat Chak. And it's a pleasure for us to present this here. And thank you all for being attentive and asking multiple questions. And I normally say to people, so the good way to learn is like when you start presenting or when you start discussing with wider group. So you guys got in a lot of good questions. So where we got some answers, some of them it's a opportunity for us also to dig with more details. Thank you so much for that. And with that, if you guys have any further questions, so please feel free to reach out to us via LinkedIn. So we'll be happy to answer them as well.
Yeah. Before we leave, I would request everybody to turn up their camera. We'll take a cool snap and then we'll post it on our social media. Okay, cool. 3, 2, 1. Oh, sorry, there are a few more cameras. Sorry, just stay on hold. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right. So thank you so much, Raja, Thamrai, for this wonderful session. It was so insightful, very much interactive. Raghavan, again, thank you for asking so much of questions on behalf of the entire audience. And since this discussion was itself in a very interactive way, I am sure that audience have found it very much helpful. Thank you so much, guys. So keep a note of the contest. So give us a shout out on the social media, and after 24 hours, we'll be announcing the winners. Stay tuned. Follow us on social media, LinkedIn and Twitter. And yeah, keep in touch, and we'll see you in the next meetup, right? And see you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Bye.